recorded live right here in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's time again for Larry's Rants, Raves, and Reviews. And now, here's Larry.
Folks, welcome back to this particular episode. We are excited about it. You know, every 4 years, Americans go to the polls to elect a president, but technically, we don't elect the president through a national popular vote. We have what is called an Electoral College.
Amen.
And one of the... Already getting amens. Yes. Okay. And so I wanted to have a special guest back, and I will introduce her in just a moment. But I want to start the show out, this particular episode. I want to show a clip, listen to a clip of who I call Kamala Harris. I call her that because I think she's a communist and she lives in La La Land. I've never heard one of her word salads that I could understand. So let's jump right into this episode with listening to this clip.
We need to revisit the Electoral College. We need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13 justices like we have 13 district courts. We need to revisit, if they so want, statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C.
Yes.
If we regain control of the Senate, I served on this committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, when I was in the Senate. Only the second black woman elected to the United States Senate after Carol Moseley Braun. And the Senate Judiciary Committee has the power to create rules for its committee that don't have to go to the whole Senate for a vote and worry about filibuster and all.
Okay. Well, I think that you could clearly see that platform that she wanted to run on was to do away with the Electoral College, pack the Supreme Court, and do away with the filibuster, which the Republicans don't have guts enough to do.
Right. Not yet.
That's it. And so
somebody's going to do it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, once the Democrats get back in office, I'm sure they will. You know, and as far as the filibuster and packing the Supreme Court, that's two other episodes we can do. But here's what I can tell you. She said, I want to put one more on the Supreme Court. Folks, they've already showed their hand years ago. If they get one,
15.
They're going to run it. Huh?
15.
15. There you go. And they floated that years ago.
Sure they did.
However, this episode is going to be on the Electoral College. And Randy, I called Martha Cothren, our friend, our retired history teacher from Joe T. Robinson. Yeah. We've had her on before. And Martha, thank you for coming back.
It's an honor.
Well, it's our honor to have you, I can tell you. I called her up and I said, Martha, I want to do an episode on the Electoral College, and I need somebody far smarter than me and Randy. And that's
definitely me.
That's what she definitely did.
History was not my favorite flavor.
Now, Martha, we're going to jump right into this. I told you, and I will tell our audience, on the phone when I called you about doing this episode and set up the recording date, I said, Martha, here's what I believe. I believe that the Electoral College is one of the greatest gifts that God gave to our country through the Founding Fathers.
You're exactly right.
Whew, I like to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm exactly right.
Yeah.
Well,
we know you do. That's an under. Do you want to hear it again? Say it again, Martha.
You're exactly right.
You sound so much like my wife, I'll tell you. All right, enough playing around. Let's jump right into this. Why did the founders create? I'm going to throw questions, and this is unrehearsed, folks. Why did the founders create the Electoral College? What exactly is the Electoral College?
Well, first of all, they didn't originally create the Electoral College.
Okay.
There was an argument because of the different sizes of the states and the territories that the America had at that time.
Okay.
So they finally came down to a debate, and you ended up with what is called the Great American, or sometimes the Great Connecticut Compromise, because as they debated this, both Connecticut and New Jersey came up with a plan. The New Jersey plan was to make every state equal, no matter what. Connecticut said, you know that, and surprisingly, because Connecticut's not large, but it's larger than New Jersey, but it came back with, well, no, it needs to be done on population because of the fact that this just isn't right. And of course, large states and small states jumped in to argue the question. And finally, the Connecticut, and we didn't call him senators yet, he was a representative there, came up with the two bodies of Congress that they had already planned for and said, why don't we match them up with one group, the House of Representatives, because it's larger, can look at population, but you will count your population in groups and you can set your number of representatives by population. And on the other side, the larger states were satisfied because each one got 2 representatives.
Okay.
So that gave them 2 bodies, one that would look at population and one that would be equal. So the Great Connecticut Compromise, or the Great Compromise as we taught it in history, settled that problem. Then they come along with, well, how are you going to choose these electors? And that has varied for years from the beginning. At first, the state legislatures chose all the representatives and the senators. Well, when you begin to look at that, you see there's a lot of politics involved in a politician appointing someone who's going to be voting for him.
Okay.
So they said, this isn't quite exactly the way we need it. And it took over a period of time for them to work down to the fact that let's let the states decide who is going to make the decision. And at first, when we first go in with the compromise, it's not until really the 12th Amendment comes along that the people got to directly elect the senators and the representatives. Prior to that, it had just been government making appointments. And again, we ran into politics there.
Sure.
So with the 12th Amendment, that began to make a change there. And I really started questioning, because I had not thought of this myself until I had talked with you. I vote in every election that Arkansas has. But then I started thinking, how does Arkansas elect its electors? Because I even work at the poll for our elections, and I thought, I've never seen a ballot where you voted for electors. So I began researching and checked. The political parties actually elect the electors. Each political party that has someone in the election submits to our House and Senate in Arkansas, our government, the list of people, and they have to have certain qualities. And of course, they go back to, and we bring up our Christian upbringing and what our founding fathers planned. They talked about being of good character, being of solid morals, being honest, trustworthy, words that sometimes we don't associate with politics a whole lot across the country today.
I certainly don't.
But you look at what they said we should have. And I'm not sure that our government goes through those checklists exactly anymore. But what does happen in Arkansas is the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, I don't know about the independents. I couldn't find an answer on that. The Libertarian Party, am I saying it right? Libertarian?
Right.
They can choose their sets or choose a list and submit them to our state and House, state and representatives, and they make the choice. So technically, we, the people, are not choosing the electors. It would be a complicated election, but if we wanted more power put in the hands of the people, Kamala or whatever name she goes by, if she wants to make adjustments, that would be the only sensible adjustment. But then you still can't guarantee that you're going to get upstanding, honest, trustworthy people, because we don't know. And even in our local cities, towns, rural areas, you've got a popular son that they would like to have on there.
Right.
And he may not, or she may not be the best choice. However, y'all have been in school. You know that popularity rules oftentimes.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to look for that. But that would be the only adjustment I could see as far as an electoral. But I say that, and then you turn around. Our state chooses who we want our electors to be. But then our state's not going to get to make the final choice, because those electors are taken to Washington after the election is over, and the vice president will sit down and open all of the electoral returns that have come in for every state. House and Senate is supposed to, all the members of House and Senate are supposed to be there to hear as he does this, or she does this. And then they look at it. They take the top 5 candidates that get the most votes. And there are 2 ballots. You vote for the president on one ballot, or one time, and then you vote for the vice president on another ballot. They take the top 5 candidates and they vote only on those. So those states who might have voted one way or the other may shift their vote. We don't really know that. And that's one of the arguments, is how can you guarantee that your vote is being exactly turned over? Because if they're not in the top 3, let's say that my husband decided to run for the presidency.
Okay.
And we get Gish Ivey up there. Well, half the people in Arkansas could vote for him, and the other half may say, no, we want George Jones to come in and be that. Well, obviously, the rest of the people in Arkansas don't know who he is, so he's going to fall by the wayside. So you look at it and you're saying you can't guarantee that the people of each state are going to get exactly what they want. But we have learned that the majority tends to be what is the ruling. We've got to have a way to make a decision.
Yeah.
And we're not all going to be happy with anything that comes along, whether it's in life, in government, or wherever. But we have got to learn that in order to have a successful country, we have to be able to work on a balance sheet. So that's kind of how the Electoral College got there. Now, at first, when they set up, the 17th Amendment makes some changes in there. The Arkansas State Legislature used to appoint the 2 senators. Today, we get to have the 17th Amendment made direct election of senators possible. So the structure on how it came about is there. How do we, when I look at it, I truly believe that it is the most fair way to do this, because of the fact the people who are registered to vote, who, by the way, in my opinion, need to show proof of citizenship.
Absolutely.
To vote. They get to vote on their choice of candidate. Those candidates are turned in to the state legislature. Then the Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, they all get to make a list of electors. Those are chosen. They are pledged to vote the way that they were told. I don't know if there is a surefire way. Some of the research I did said they are honor bound and they could face penalties if they did not vote the correct way. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't list any what could happen if they don't.
So we go, we vote in the polls, we vote, and then we have these electors that go to Washington, and they're supposed to cast their vote if your husband won in Arkansas, the popular vote. Then the electors are supposed to go and cast their ballots for him?
Except the electors don't go. The electors send their results to Washington.
Oh,
They don't get to go
Okay.
up there, because I always thought they did.
I thought so too.
And
I
as
thought
I
that's
They
what
used
you'd
to,
said.
though.
They used to.
They used to.
But today they send them. Now they send one. There will be one chosen from each state to go and
Okay.
turn in the votes to, and the vice president is the president of the Senate.
Right.
So this year, he opens the ballots and he calls them out in a roll call vote. And of course, they've got it kept where everyone can keep up to see how it's coming across. So as each state votes, they're able to record. And we know it's really hard with our population because the population for the Senate was set at, or the number was set at 435 members years ago. Mm-hmm. The United States has gained several million people since then. Mm-hmm. And we look at that, and that's one of the things that I have read the Democrats are saying, oh, no, we don't have enough representatives because we need more representation from these states. And, of course, the people from D.C. had a fit, and actually we have an amendment that fixed that.
Yes.
D.C. was given electors in the 23rd, now maybe it's 22nd or 23rd Amendment. They got a chance to vote. Kamala's pushing for Puerto Rico. The Puerto Ricans are a territory. They are not a state.
There you go.
The Constitution says the states will have. So that puts a limit there. But there is, that kind of in a nutshell is how it developed into what we have today.
Now we have 538 electoral votes,
That's
correct?
the 3 extra from Washington.
Okay.
435 cover the states, and then the 3 extra from Washington.
And
or
now
DC.
it takes 270 to win?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now let me ask you a question. On the, you talked about the Great Connecticut Compromise. Is that the same thing as I read about as the Constitutional Convention?
No, the Constitutional Convention
Okay.
came first.
Okay.
Well, we started with the Articles of Confederation. That was
Okay.
our first government, and they found off right away that's not going to work.
Okay.
So then they had the Constitutional Convention. And during that convention, the Great Compromise, that's how they settled the
Okay.
House and the Senate, because they drew up the articles. And when they got to the Article 2, which is the legislative, then they began to say, how are we going to choose our voters? And that was
Going back to the 270 to win, recently California and Texas, I believe, have redistricted the area, and now they have more congressmen, I guess. And then, will that affect the 270?
actually the redistricting really didn't affect their number. What they did is they redrew the district lines within their state.
So they didn't get any more?
No,
They did.
they
I
just
thought they were
shifted their-
adding more.
Basically, what happened is when the lines were redrawn, there happened to be one line that used to have a lot of Democratic votes coming from it, but a lot of that land shifted over to the one that used to have a lot of Republican.
So that's the way they should.
That's the shifting.
And
It's-
the redistricting was supposed to balance to where it was fairer because they had a lot of areas that was carved out strictly for Democrats or strictly for Republicans, and they want to mix those.
What
to
determines
balance
what
it.
determines to get more congressmen then?
the government, the House and Senate, will have to change the law. They will have to add to the Constitution more people being allowed in.
Because we're
Or-
Arkansas. What we have 6? Is it 6.
I want to say 7.
Seven
but
representatives.
This is one of those times where my mind just I think it's 6. I think you're right on 6. It's 6 or 7.
And then these each state has so many and all that.
Right.
So they would have to vote on all that to get more. I thought it was population or something.
Well, that's why we do the census every 10 years.
yeah.
Because they look at the population and they may lose. Texas may gain more population. New York may lose because they're
Why, sure, everybody's
fleeing from
fleeing,
New
they're
York.
fleeing, uh-huh.
So New York would lose one
yeah.
if we counted it that way, and Texas could gain one,
And
or
that
Florida.
happens, that happens every 10 years. It's restructured.
Every 10
So
years,
every
they
10 years you may see it may take. Next time it may be like 271 or 272
Right. Well,
to win or whatever.
We're stuck. No, we're still stuck on that 435.
We are.
That's the number of how many representatives there are.
Gotcha.
So
That can't change.
but that can change among the states.
Yes.
We'll go for
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So
they'd
it
shift
may
it.
float. We Texas may get one of New York's or
Right.
something if everybody's more. Texas goes up, New York
right,
goes
and
down.
we don't really know a lot about that right now because we haven't seen so much of that because the census was in 20.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen, but within the states themselves, there is so much population shifting from rural to city, or maybe in some areas, city to rural, and that may change the district
Yeah.
that they live in.
I guess you have to have an ID to go through census, do you?
It has been so many years. I can remember when I was growing up, my mother helped work the census.
Right.
And that was probably 1960. It had to be 1960. And she had, because we grew up way out in the country, and she drove to everyone's house. But of course, in Howard County, everybody knew everybody in
Well, I
Howard
know.
County.
I know. The last time I didn't fill it out, and they called me, and okay, I'll get to it. And then they called me again. Listen, you've got to do this. How many people are you living in your house? Like they wanted to know.
Yeah, they did.
Yes, there was. Now, a lot of times when you register to vote, or I don't remember getting anything, but then 2020 is 6 years ago, but I probably filled it out then. So I wouldn't have gotten anything in between.
I'm at the age I don't remember more than 5 now.
I know. I can't even remember words when I need them. But pretty much they have it comes through, and at that time, of course, we'll have another one in 30.
Yeah.
But you stop and think how many illegals were probably counted in the 2020 census.
Sure.
And now that a lot of those have been removed, that's going to shift some of the population thing. But people are having a lot of babies too.
Yeah.
But that was one of the arguments of people even on this podcast is that we have so many illegals involved in this that it inflates the numbers. That's how California and different places get so many representatives. And take a look, California redistricted, and looked at how imbalanced it became under Newsom.
And if I'm not mistaken, President Trump has been pushing for California to relook at their citizenship list. And there's a couple of states, which I cannot pull out of my head right now, that have refused to send they've been sent a list. We want to see your voter rolls, and they have refused to send it in.
Of course not.
Yeah, they're not going to
So
do that.
Minnesota ain't going to do nothing.
Except
They
fraud.
need to be another country.
Except fraud. They're going to do plenty of fraud.
Right. They need to be another country.
Maybe we need to.
They need to be voted out.
Yeah, there you go.
And we don't have there's nothing in our Constitution that sets up for how to kick a state out. We don't have that. And you can't secede because the South tried that in the 1860s. So we're not going to you can't just pull out of the country.
Texas can't?
No.
I thought they
I
could.
always thought Texas
I
could.
always thought they could.
Really?
Well, Texas says they can. But if you go back and look, now the Constitution does not put it in just plain words, you cannot leave. But it talks about the united. But if you go back and look at when the southern states seceded from the Union, then all of a sudden the government comes in and says that's illegal.
Because
you can't do that.
I've always said that if Texas succeeds, I'm handing somebody the keys. I'm getting in the car.
I know.
Heading
We're
to
going
Texas.
too. If Arkansas doesn't join them, then we're gone.
Yeah, forget it. I'm out. I am out.
Sarah ain't going to do that.
No, she's going to she's going to keep us in here.
Well, wasn't part of the Electoral College put in place to help smaller states have true representation? Is that a fair question?
That's what came from the Great Compromise.
Okay.
That was exactly because every state gets 2 senators. Mm-hmm. That was the equality clause. Mm-hmm. And that really satisfied, and I said it backwards a while ago, that satisfied the larger states.
Okay.
The smaller states wanted population, and that was when they drew up the guidelines for the House of Representatives. With X number of people, you get 1 representative. Yeah. X number another.
We always talk about swing states, but swing states they keep changing, right?
Exactly.
And part of that has to be people moving. Lord, you go to Texas and I visit my kids and I see billboards all the time that says, "Don't California my Texas."
Exactly. We have so much fluidness in our moving right now, and a lot of it has to do with our economy. A lot of it has to do with the government in some states, or if you look at New York City and look at their mayor, then you see people are fleeing because there are things that he's trying to create that are not constitutional. But having the guts to step up and confront him and push it through is something the government doesn't want to take on right now because they've got their hands full with all the other stuff.
Sure. Well, that'd be just one more thing they want to fight against President Trump on.
And, sometimes you give someone enough rope to hang themselves, and if he keeps doing the things and New York loses so much population and money from all the big companies, the people of New York are going to go, what did we do?
And, I guess on one hand, I have to honestly jump in here and say, whatever New York gets, they deserve. Because 2/3 of their population didn't even get out and vote.
Exactly.
So the minority of voters went in there and voted. Well, okay. That's what you get when you don't show up for the polls.
And that was one of the things when I was teaching that I drilled. And I wish that I had contact with all of my former students, because going to vote was one of the most important things you could do. Mm-hmm. And don't complain about something if you're not going to go vote, because you're not doing anything to help.
Well, and you just mentioned that we don't have the right to step in and do some things. I have in my notes here a better argument that the Electoral College protects small states, or that it preserves the states themselves as political units in our presidential elections.
Oh, it does. Because if you took the population of New York, take the population of Texas, Florida, then you bring New Jersey, or you bring in North or South Dakota. New Jersey is small in size, but thicker in population.
Oh, yeah.
North and South Dakota are larger in size, but sparse in population as Montana. Now, Washington and Oregon have both commercialized a great deal more than the states that are further inland, and they have developed the population.
Yeah.
Because we hear from them all the time. But it makes it more fair. We can't say makes it fair, but they're doing the best they can. And that was the compromise.
And I think that it's hard for people to set and distinguish between the rhetoric and the reality involved with the Electoral College.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's what we're trying to nail down here, even in this episode.
We have a voice in our government through the Electoral College.
Yeah.
But to earn that voice, you've got to go vote, first of all. Of course, you need to pay attention to the candidates. You've got to know what they stand for. You don't have to get in the arguments with people about it, but you have to listen, read, be alert, then you have to go vote to speak your voice so that it will count. Because if enough people, and you often find when you've got a group speaking, many of them, oh, this is wrong, they don't need to do this. But you say, well, did you vote? Mm-hmm. Well, no, I didn't make it out this year.
Right.
And then, of course, I don't really believe in the mail-in voting.
No, I don't either.
Now, I understand, and I'm getting older enough that it's not always easy to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand for that. But if I could do anything, it would be a way to come up with that someone is truly sick or truly elderly and can't get out, or our military who are overseas. Mm-hmm. And they've even stretched for college kids now in different states. Make sure that they get a ballot, but we need some security in how they get them.
I would bet that if the government would simply say, folks, if you will show up at one of these 5 libraries in Little Rock, Arkansas, you must have your ID with you. We have bundles of $100 bills. We're going to give you $10,000 in $100 bills, a bundle all nicely wrapped from First Security Bank, and we're going to hand it to you, but you have to have your ID. How many people are going to show up? How many people are honestly going to be able to find that ID?
I believe they all would.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do what we want to do in life. That's the bottom line.
And that's right.
Let me tell you something. We moved to Maumelle a year ago now, and I went over there to change my driver's license to the DMV, and my boat registration was up and things, and I took, because I didn't want to pay a 3% credit card fee, which I don't have a credit card fee or a credit card, and so I took my check in there. What do you think they asked me for?
Driver's license.
Driver's license. Where's your driver's license? I'm like, you are so racist. You are so horrible because you want me to show an ID. Do you know how hard that is for me? We will ask for an ID to keep from bouncing a check.
Yes.
However, to vote in an election, oh, you want to talk about that? All of a sudden you're racist. All of a sudden you're horrible. Kami Lala got on another tangent and did some freak video that went viral on social media that we all bashed her about, of the Republicans are trying to keep you from vote. They're taking your voting right away. Really? No, we're not. We're just saying if you're not a citizen, you don't get to vote.
I work at our voting poll out on Colonel Glenn Road every year for all of our elections. Mm-hmm. Every person that comes in there, we have not had anybody who said, oh, I don't have an ID. Mm-hmm. Every one of them has that ID out and is ready to go with it. Mm-hmm. And there's not a complaint one.
Well, this thought just popped in my head. My grandson, James, is one of the pickiest eaters you've ever seen, okay? If it's not Whataburger or Chick-fil-A or Cane's, he just doesn't want it, okay?
I understand that.
That's kind of like when we get ready to go out and eat. Hey, where does everybody want to go eat? And if he chimes up, I stop and go, stop. You don't get the opportunity. He has not earned the vote
right
in the family, okay? That's kind of the way I am with voting in America. If you're not actually an American, you don't need to get to vote.
Exactly.
But I'm going to tell you, if Kami Lala and the Communist Party that she's involved with, if they had their way, they would let everybody do it. They'd do away with the Electoral College, and it would be a popular vote. And folks, I've got to tell you, if we're ever dumb enough to do away with the Electoral College, there's going to be pockets of population. California, Florida, California, New York, or Texas, New York, those bigger states. If we did away, let me put it this way. If we abolish the Electoral College tomorrow, what do you think the presidential campaigns would look like in the state of Arkansas? Would we ever be visited?
No.
Our vote wouldn't matter, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure it wouldn't then.
No.
Mm-mm.
And probably not. Well, maybe Missouri might get a few because Kansas City is fairly large enough that it really pulls people. But I bet Montana and North and South Dakota would never hear from anything.
Right. Yeah.
Arizona, depends on the season if they're going to go out to Arizona. But you look at these smaller states,
Forget it.
and they don't have a chance.
No.
And that was back to that great compromise. That is what those smaller states said. And our forefathers were smart enough to say, you're exactly right.
And if we did away with the Electoral College, don't you believe that rural America would be so forgotten?
They never get anything. Right now, I know Tom Cotton worked so hard to help get the money to help our farmers and any of the others. He's really stood out in helping there. And Bozeman has also. But without that help, farmers are almost forgotten in a lot of areas. Mm-hmm. You know, our rural area and our farmers in Arkansas are hurting. They need all the help they can get. The weather's been against us. The rain doesn't want to come from the weather, and they need help. So we're not an industrial state. We are a farming rural state.
And do you know how many times in America America has elected a president who did not receive the largest nationwide popular vote?
I couldn't tell you that. I don't know numbers on it. You got me.
I know it. I asked my friend.
I'd have to look it up.
I asked my friend AI. There are 5 times.
5 times.
Okay. 1824, John Quincy Adams. 1876, Ruth Rutherford B. Hayes. 1888, Benjamin Harrison. 2000, George W. Bush. Remember the hanging chads?
Yes.
And Donald Trump in 2016.
That's right. That's right.
Those are the 5. So everybody wants to say we need the popular vote only. But only 5 times, and only 2 of those in our, what I would call, say, recent history, has it even come up.
Yes. Now, the Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden, that was in 1876, and that's what led to, in part, the direct election of senators. Because of the fact, when you looked at the electoral votes on that, Tilden had 184. And Hayes only had 175. So they had to, but that wasn't a majority. So they had to sit down, and they made a committee of 15 members who sat down and made the decision. And they shifted it to Hayes. Whereas actually Tilden had won the popular vote.
Okay.
And had more electors at that point. But that was also at the point when the South was still in Reconstruction, and several Southern states sent in double sets of ballots. So they had to choose which set of ballots.
Okay.
And that's why Hayes won it at that time.
Okay. You know, my fact that I knew those 5, you know.
Oh, I'm impressed.
Well,
and I won't forget it now.
Really.
I will not forget. I'll know that answer.
well, I just pay like $40 a month for AGT Chat Professional.
If one of my students was listening to this, they'd say, "Oh, he got her. He got her."
We're real deep here.
They'd love that.
Do you believe that if the founding fathers were alive today, that they would create the Electoral College?
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
I like that.
I've
Yeah.
got to be a little
Okay.
on there because of the fact in the founding of it and the writing of the Constitution, there were arguments
Okay.
among our founding fathers. Some of the ones that we would think, and I can't give you names because I didn't memorize those, but there was enough argument that led to the Great Compromise.
Okay.
But it wasn't all the founding fathers because those from the larger states liked the larger states getting it.
Yes.
But they were honest and fair enough to realize that it's got to be equal to succeed.
Now, us 3 sitting on this podcast, I've got to say, are probably conservative or ultra conservative, okay?
I'd go ultra with
There
me.
you go. So don't you believe that the Electoral College actually does what we want, and that is make the federal government smaller in their authority, not overriding the states, because that's what America's all about.
Exactly.
Let the states be the states. We're a group of states, the United States of America.
Right.
But we don't want a federal government always looking down over our backs, telling us exactly what we can and cannot do.
No.
So it does preserve the states. So the question would beg, are we trying to fix something that's broken or trying to change the rules because we occasionally don't like the outcome?
Well, you know, the Constitution also has an elastic clause in it.
Uh-oh.
And with that, when there is a problem or something that shows up not to be working exactly like it should, then we do have the power to add an amendment to the Constitution to change any of the things that have become non-working positions. So we did create that. They thought far enough ahead that I think they figured out that I hope they figured out we were going to learn new things and invent things.
Now, Randy, either she's sitting here making this up or she's just showing off now.
I think so. It reminds me of my history class. My history teacher.
I love teaching. I wish I could still teach.
The sad part of it is I've watched you over there and you're checking out every now and then. I'm like, stop it, Randy.
Hit the button, Randy. Hit the button, Randy.
Stay with the flow. So I think that abolishing the Electoral College would make America more democratic but less federal.
Abolishing?
Or let me ask you that question. Would abolishing it?
No.
Okay.
Keeping the Electoral College keeps America better balanced and the control spread over the country.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to ask. Okay. All right. It could weaken our political importance of the states themselves?
Yes.
You would say that? Okay.
Because if we don't have the Electoral College, then those states that don't have a large population are going to be run over by California, New York, Florida, Texas.
Let me give you a couple of questions here. You can just say, yeah, that's a myth or a fact or somewhere in between. The Electoral College was created solely to protect small states.
That's a pretty fair statement because of the fact they needed something to balance in the two. Since we had senators, representatives, they needed a balance.
The Electoral College was created to protect slavery.
No.
Okay.
Because we come up with the 3/5 clause that was added after the Civil War. Before the Civil War, or in the Reconstruction's what I'm trying to say, because then they were able to, before Reconstruction, they were able to say 3 out of every 5 slaves counted as one person.
Okay.
So that added population totals to the southern states who had a very small white population because they were so plantation-ridden in the states.
And, you know, as we learned through my great wisdom, we've only used this thing 5 times. But honestly, out of all the elections, 5 times, this thing really did protect America.
Yes, it did.
It really did. I mean...
Now, it is interesting. If no one gets... Like, let's say the Electoral College sends all the votes in, and if by some chance no one gets a majority, no matter how, when everything's done, what they do then is they take the top 5. And, one of the amendments dropped it to 3.
12th Amendment.
Was that the 12th? Okay, dropped it to 3 of the candidates, and the Senate and House appoint a committee that chooses the president. It has not happened.
And do you all know this? I'm sure she does. The Senate then chooses the vice president from the top 2 vice presidential electoral vote recipients with each senator having a vote?
Each state has a vote.
Okay.
It is a senator. No, now I may be wrong there because this threw me, and I really looked at the last night as I was kind of trying to review. I started looking at it because our presidential candidates always have a vice presidential candidate with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if we don't like that vice presidential candidate?
Mm-hmm.
What is to stop us with the way this is set up of saying, okay, we're going to pick the president first, then the vice president? What if we got a Republican and a Democrat mixed in there together?
Yeah.
You know, what would happen there? But the state electors are pledged to vote the way their states vote. And if you look on our ballots, we don't vote for vice president. We vote for president, and we just assume he has the rights or the smarts to pick the right
We're
vice
trying
president.
to vote for the right ticket. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, folks, what the bottom line really is that if we gave up on the Electoral College, I personally believe it would be one of the gravest mistakes that we could ever make.
Yes.
The campaigns would change the way the campaigns spend money, where the candidates would travel. The turnout strategy would change. I mean, think of it here in Little Old Arkansas.
Yes.
If we didn't have the electoral, why would we want to go vote?
Exactly.
It ain't going to matter.
The Electoral College keeps it
Yes,
fair.
it does. And the only reason that Kami Lala and the Communist Party always floats this and wants to change every election, and I mean every election it comes up, she's thinking about running. And let me give you this. This is a very fearful thought that you can ponder. I personally believe that the Democratic Socialist Party, as they call themselves now, but I call them communist, because I believe that socialism is nothing more than a bus stop on the way to communism. I think that what they're going to come up with is Kami Lala is going to run for president, and guess who her running mate is going to be? AOC.
Oh, my word.
I predict.
I bet.
I predict that. I really do.
Oh,
I wouldn't
my
doubt
word.
it. I wouldn't doubt it.
That scares you to death.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
Two people that, I mean, you got a word salad and you got a bartender. I have
I'm no
telling you.
idea of the history of any of it, I would imagine.
Dumber than dirt.
Exactly.
Dumber than dirt. But I think that that's what the Democrats are probably going to come up with.
And I think what's so scary is not enough people in America realize what communism really is.
Mm-hmm.
World War II is too far removed for them to look back and see how things developed in Germany and what happened. And Germany wasn't communistic, but you see when you turn it to the government controls everything. What I used to tell my kid, this was a thing that I think many teachers have used when I was teaching about that, I'd say, okay, so-and-so has an A, so-and-so has a B, and I'm sorry, you failed the test, so you're going to fail. But that's not fair. I said, okay, let's be a communist. You get 4 points for an A, 3 points for the B. You don't get anything, so you got 7 points, and we can't split that among three. So let's just say the A gets 2 points, the B gets 2 points. We didn't talk about the C, so they can have a point, and the D can have a point. And they're like, no, you can't take my A away. That's communism.
There you go.
They take who's got the most,
Wow.
and they take it. And the kids were like, no.
Yeah,
You can't.
That's a good way of looking at it.
it sure is.
And people don't realize that that's what communism is. I've been so blessed. I got to go to Russia in the 80s when communism was at its peak. And we'd walk down the street, and you know the little ice cream vendors in some bigger cities that have the little ice box outside, and they reach in and get a thing. I said, oh, there's a little ice cream cart. Let's get ice cream. We walked over. He opened it up. It was raw meat. And he reached in there with a bare hand and had a piece of wax paper, picked it up, and handed it to them. That was how they bought their meat.
Good
Wow.
Lord.
you'd go to a Coke machine. Remember the Coke machines where the cup would drop down and fill up the ice?
Yeah.
They had one cup. You would buy your Coke, drink it, and put the cup back for the next person.
Oh, my goodness.
That was in the 1980s in Russia.
Wow.
And
Leave your cup. You leave your cup.
You leave there's just one cup. It belongs to the Coke machine. And I never got over that. And I thought, we don't know how good we have it here.
No, we don't. We don't. We don't appreciate.
No.
And, a lot of that, I think, Martha, comes from our ignorance. I mean, and I use that word not in a horrible way. I'm saying a lot of people are ignorant of, like, take, for instance, the Electoral College.
They hadn't been
They're
taught.
ignorant. They have not been taught. They have not paid attention.
No.
And so we're losing our freedoms. We're losing our liberties. We're losing all the assets of America. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to land this plane, as I often say. We've got to bring this to a close. Martha, it's been a pleasure to have you once again.
What an honor.
I want to have you back. I've got several things I want to talk to you about. But I will tell you, folks, one thing that I in particular am happy about is over the last several years, I have flung out the word communism, and people have looked down their nose at me. I've got family and friends that said, well, Larry, it's not communism, it's socialism. And I've often said, well, socialism is nothing more than a bus stop on the way to communism. And guess what? All of these podcasters, all of these right-wing radical news people and even the president and senators and House of Representatives, they're all using the word communism.
Right.
Oh, I've used that for a couple of years, folks. So if you're tired of legacy media screwing around with your mind and brainwashing you, you may want to find people like ourselves here that will give you truth for a change and not tell you how to think, but give you some ideas and let you think on it. Well, folks, I hope you'll come back for the next episode. And we've got some great guests coming up. Martha, thank you once again.
Thank you.
And folks, I hope that you will have a great day.